All right, let's dive in. Today we're going way back to the very beginning of pro football.
The very beginning, huh?
Yeah, we're talking about the 1920 APFA season, the league that, eventually became the NFL.
Ah, the good old days.
Well, maybe not good exactly from what I've been reading, but definitely interesting. We're using the Wikipedia entry on the 1920 APFA season as our guide for this deep dive.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah, I think it'll be pretty eye-opening, actually. The league was so different back then. I mean, almost unrecognizable.
Oh, yeah. I think people would be pretty surprised to see how things worked back in 1920. It wasn't exactly the polished, multi-billion-dollar operation we know today.
Not even close. So, paint us a picture. What was it really like?
Well, for starters, teams kind of just made up their own schedules as they went.
Really? No set schedule?
Nope. Some teams played a dozen games, others only a few. And get this, over half their games weren't even against other APFA teams.
Wow, that's wild. It really was like the Wild West of football.
Exactly. No official standings or anything. It's crazy to think about how they even decided a champion with all that chaos.
Right. How did they figure out who won the first season? And the bigger question, I guess, is how did a league that disorganized even survive to become the NFL?
Great questions. Okay, so the championship thing. The Akron Pros, they ended up undefeated that year. They even got a trophy, the Brunswick-Bocky-Colander Cup.
The what now?
The Brunswick-Bock-Colander Cup. One-time deal, that trophy. But even with a perfect season, their claim to the title wasn't exactly clear-cut, you know?
Oh, I bet. With all those different schedules and stuff, someone must have had a problem with it.
Oh, yeah. Two other teams, the Decatur Staleys, who eventually became the Chicago Bears, and the Buffalo All-Americans, they both finished with only one loss.
Yeah.
And they argued that they should have been at least co-champions, based on their total wins.
Makes sense to me. So basically, even figuring out who won the very first season was a mess.
Yeah, pretty much.
You know what's funny, though? If you use today's tiebreaker rules, Buffalo actually would have been co-champions. They had the same win percentage as Akron and tied their head-to-head game.
It's true. Imagine how NFL history might be different if things had gone their way back then.
It's crazy to think about. Okay, so we've got this league struggling to figure out its own rules, teams arguing about who's the champ. How did they even get started in the first place?
Well, the APFA actually grew out of the Ohio League. There was this big meeting. It happened in, wait for it, a car dealership in Canton, Ohio.
A car dealership? You're kidding?
Nope. It's true. The Canton Bulldogs, Akron Pros, Cleveland Tigers, and Dayton Triangles, 4 Ohio teams, all in a car dealership, basically giving birth to the NFL empire we know today. Pretty humble beginnings, huh?
That's incredible. So much for fancy boardrooms and all that. Just a bunch of guys in a car dealership. It really shows how far the league has come.
Oh, for sure.
Okay, speaking of humble beginnings, can we talk about Jim Thorpe for a second?
The man, the myth, the legend.
Exactly. He was already a sports icon, Olympic gold medalist, the whole 9 yards. And somehow he ends up being the APFA's first president.
Oh, yeah, and playing for the Canton Bulldogs at the same time.
It's mind-blowing. What was the league thinking, letting one guy do all that? I mean, was that even normal back then?
Well, it really highlights how different things were. The league was so much smaller, way more informal, almost like a bunch of independent teams trying to figure things out together. And someone like Thorpe, someone with his reputation stepping up as both player and president, it probably helped to keep things from completely falling apart.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's like they needed someone with that star power to bring everyone together. But still, I can't help but wonder if part of the chaos came from that lack of structure. Like with the championship controversy and everything, do you think those early struggles actually shaped how the NFL operates today?
I don't know. Maybe. It's definitely something to think about as we go along.
Okay, so we've got a league scrambling for legitimacy, championship drama, a legendary athlete running the show. What else can you tell us about the teams that made up that first APFA season? I mean, we know the Cardinals and Bears are still around. What happened to all the others?
Yeah, it's pretty crazy when you think about it. Out of those 14 teams that played in 1920, only 2 are still around today.
Wow, really?
Yeah, only 2. We've got the Chicago Cardinals.
They're the Arizona Cardinals now, right?
Yep, that's them. And of course, you've got the Decatur Staleys, who, as you know, are now the Chicago Bears.
It's wild to think about those 14 teams battling it out, and only 2 of them made it. Like, what happened to all those other teams? Did they just fold?
Yeah, a lot of them just kind of faded away. Tough times for pro football back then, You had teams like the Buffalo All-Americans who almost won the championship.
Right, we were just talking about that. Imagine if they had become a dynasty instead of the Bills in the 90s.
Right. It's like Buffalo could have been the Green Bay of the 1920s.
It really makes you wonder, what if? About all those teams that disappeared. Like, what if the Muncie Flyers had stuck around?
The Muncie Flyers.
Yeah, they only played one game in 1920 and the proof gone. What happened there?
I don't know, man. Some of those early teams are a total mystery, lost to history. But their stories are still out there somewhere, waiting to be rediscovered.
Okay, so we've got these mysterious teams vanishing championship drama. It sounds like the league was pretty unstable. How did they ever get things organized?
Well, people like Joseph Carr deserve a lot of credit for that. He was the owner of the Columbus Panhandles back in 1920.
The Panhandles, okay.
Yeah, and later on, he became the league president. A pretty important figure in NFL history, actually. He helped to bring some stability and, make the league more professional.
It sounds like they needed someone like that.
Yeah.
So we've got the owners trying to build the league. We've got these legendary players like Jim Thorpe. But what about the game itself? Was it even close to the football we watch today?
Man, you wouldn't even recognize it. The rules, the strategies, everything was different. Way more brutal, way more run-heavy. Passing was just starting to catch on.
I bet. I can't even imagine playing without all that fancy equipment they have today. Helmet, pads, all that stuff.
Yeah, that was pretty much non-existent back then. Just some leather helmets and maybe some padding if you were lucky. Player safety wasn't exactly a top priority.
Yikes. It's kind of sobering to think about, Those guys were out there putting their bodies on the line, basically paving the way for the modern NFL. We owe them a lot.
I agree. And their stories, they can teach us so much about the history of the game, but also about, the culture of that time, what it meant to be a man, what people valued. It's all there in those early games.
It's amazing how much you can learn about a society just by looking at its sports. Okay, so we've covered the league, the teams, the evolution of the game. Now let's talk about the players. I know some of the guys from that first season ended up in the Hall of Fame. Who are we talking about here?
Yeah, some serious talent came out of that 1920 season. 10 guys from that year ended up in the Hall of Fame.
10? Wow. Okay, give me some names.
Well, you've got Jim Thorpe, obviously.
Can't forget about him.
And George Halas, the legendary Bears coach and owner.
Oh, right, of course.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Let's see. Oh, Patty Driscoll. He was a player and a coach, had a huge impact on the game.
It's amazing to think that all those legends came from that one season. I bet those games were something else to watch. I've been thinking about it, and if I could go back in time to 1920, I'd have a hard time picking a team to root for.
Yeah. Who would you be leaning towards?
I don't know. I kind of like the underdog stories. Maybe the Buffalo All-Americans. They really got screwed over in that championship thing.
Yeah, I can see that. Always got to root for the underdog. But for me, I'm more fascinated by the teams that just vanished.
Yeah.
Like, what happened to them?
Right, like the Muncie Flyers.
Exactly. One game and then gone. What was their deal? What were they hoping for when they joined the league? It makes you realize that every team has a story, even if they didn't win a championship or whatever.
That's true. It's easy to get caught up in the big names and the winners,
Yeah.
But those forgotten teams, they were part of the story too.
Absolutely. Their stories are important too. They tell us so much about those early days of pro football, all the struggles and the successes.
It really makes you realize how much the NFL has changed over the years. But I guess in some ways it's still the same game. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah, for sure. The passion, the competition, that never goes away. And who knows, maybe 100 years from now, someone will be doing a deep dive on the 2024 season, talking about our forgotten heroes.
Huh. That's a funny thought. But hey, you never know, right?
You never know. History is full of surprises. That's why it's so fascinating. If anyone out there wants to explore the early days of football, just do it. Read about those teams, those players. You might discover something amazing.
I completely agree. There's a whole world of football history out there just waiting to be uncovered. Now, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up our deep dive into the 1920 APFA season. But before we go, I want to leave you with one final thought. Imagine you could travel back to that first year of pro football. Which team would you choose to support? And what would make you choose them? Think about it. And maybe, just maybe, it'll inspire you to learn a little more about the fascinating and often chaotic history of the NFL. Thanks for joining us on this trip back to 1920.